welcome in to another edition of the Hoops Betting Hour. It is Saturday, Sweet 16 Saturday. I am the big man on campus. He's Donnie Rightside. We're here with you live Saturday, March 27th. Plenty to do, plenty to talk about. We've been waiting all week for the Sweet 16. We got 4 games today, 4 games tomorrow. We're breaking out 4 today here on another episode of the show. We are presented by Pickswise and powered by FanDuel. Hope you're all having a great day. Donnie, how you doing? We haven't seen you for a couple of days. Sweet 16 time.
Back on Saturday, feeling good. You know what's interesting about this card, Jeff, on Saturday and Sunday? It doesn't have the feel of like an NFL schedule because we had all week to go over these matchups, and now it's finally here, the anticipation of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it wasn't so long ago, Jeff, that when we were taking a look at these games, usually you played again, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. As long as you waited, we got here, Jeff, because now we get Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So a nice 4-day run. The big boys are here to play, and we're ready to get after it.
Yeah, 4 games, starting at 2:40, ending at later than that, midnight probably. So a lot of basketball coming up. We're getting ready for it. Very exciting. But, Donnie, quickly, before we do that, I got to ask you, this is totally basketball related, but it's wild. Did you see the Houston Rockets last night?
I saw the close of the game was like 24-0 or something like that, something wild.
They didn't score a point over the final 8 minutes of the game and lost.
And what was the lead? They had like a double-digit lead.
Yeah, right? They were up 101-87 or something.
Jesus.
How do you not score for the final 8 minutes of a game in an NBA game? You don't foul or anything like.
NBA is crazy. I mean, I do enjoy in-game betting in the NBA, but capping those games, I mean, how could you waste your time capping an NBA game and 15 minutes before the game, finally know who's playing? That is one of the more maddening sports out there. At least you get a semblance in other sports of who's in. But, boy, you're talking about superstar players that you don't know who's in or out till damn near game time. That is a tough go, man.
We talked about it yesterday. We skipped right over that game. No interest. we actually did pretty well in the NBA, yesterday, luckily. So, shout out to Ski Prophet. Thanks to him for coming on. But, Donnie, it is college time. Yeah. And, want to welcome everybody in. Hope you're all having a nice morning. It is Saturday. The birds are chirping. The sun is shining. It was about 80 degrees around here yesterday. So it is spring. Spring is sprung, as they say. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're hitting the like button. And I want to shout that out because when we came to Pickswise, Donnie, the goal was to grow this channel. And we've been able to do that. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you're hitting the like button if you're enjoying the content. And make sure you're saying hello in the chat box. We have a chat box. If you have any comments or questions, maybe a bet you're looking to make, feel free to bring it up. We try to get to the comments. Donnie, how was your week? We haven't seen you.
Good, man. Good. Just getting ready, hitting some things, watching the way these games played out. Been actually really enjoying, Jeff, the NIT as well. There's a couple games today that we'll hit at the end of the card once we finish up in these first games of the Sweet 16. What? You don't like the NIT?
No, I hate it.
Why not?
After that nonsense the other night, no.
I had a good in-game night, Jeff, on those NIT games. I'm looking to ready to cash in. Little Colorado State today, one of my favorite teams of the Mountain West. Come on, man. It's in noon.
They played well, but no, listen. So the other night, Donnie, I had under 136.5 La Tech and West Kentucky. 64-60 with a minute and a half to go. Should be a grinded out, final possession, maybe 66-63 or something. No. It went to 137 on the final play of the game, basically. All right. What do you say we jump into it, Donnie?
But before we do that, because we have a little bit of time today, Jeff, one of my and your favorite topics that we saw yesterday pop up again and have no idea why this gets any credence across the country. It would be like me and Jeff saying, we don't like college basketball. The kids are getting exploited. Jeff, what do you say we don't do the show today because it's the Sweet 16, but we do the show, and then after the show we say, well, we were not maybe going to do the show. Popped up again with Rutgers. No, have no idea why Geo Baker continues to make the rounds, and it was news where we were thinking about boycotting that game versus Clemson, but you played, and It's maddening to me. And we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But again, it's nice that we don't have a 15-game card. We have a short 4-game card to hit. But those thoughts that come out, and I still, that's good. You should have did that. A boycott doesn't work unless you put something on the line where you're willing to risk something and lose something. A boycott doesn't work when you go, you know what? We might not play tonight. And then you tip off right at the same time. You play the entire game yourself and then say, it's unfair that I had to play that a whole game. No. Just real quick points on it, Jeff.
That's my continued thing here. Yeah. Okay. If you're going to boycott something and you want real change to happen, you've got to be uncomfortable. Okay. Here's an idea. Okay, Gio. Quit college basketball and go play overseas. But you won't do that because they won't have you. You're not ready for that. You need college basketball and they need you. That's how it works. Is there some things that should change? Yes. But stop with the whole I'm this and I'm not this. I'm not. Dude, you're not going to not play. You were right there. Bohannon, he was right there too, playing his games. It's all just, trying to get attention at the end of the day. I'm tired of hearing about it. If you don't like how the rules are, quit. You don't have to play college basketball. It's pretty simple. I really have an issue with the whole, okay, then don't play. Go be, go lead the crusade on it. And I will respect you a whole lot more than saying, we're not going to play. But then we end up playing. But, we were thinking about not playing. But you played. What are you even talking about?
It's almost like, a picks contest, Jeff, where you get a lot of money on the line through picks wise. You're having fun with it and you just go roll with it. Look at my man, Jeff. Didn't even read the instructions correctly. Still in it here. He's probably missing about 3 or 4 points in this contest, but he's going to roll along. Yep. This is a big day today for the big men on campus in the Picks Wise Capper contest. And I want to see how it ends up because everybody's jumbled in a row. And it's almost like Jeff said, you know what? I think I'm better than you guys. I don't even need the extra games. I'm just going to come from behind here and win this tournament. So keep an eye on the Picks Wise contest. Resumes again today, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, firing away all the way through to the Final Four and the final game, which I guess, Jeff, you don't want to be in a tie because Texas is already out and a lot of people are lumped up on Gonzaga. So it would be nice, Jeff, to make some ground and see the Zags get knocked out. And there you go, $10K prize on the line.
That would be nice to see them get knocked out, yes. Yep. But you're right. It's, and you know what it's going to be. Did you hear what he said the other night? He actually is blaming not knowing the rules on his poor performance. A couple comments here before we get into the games. John Marciano, Cuse, hey, what's up? 300. He says, Cuse seems like a trap. Seems so easy. Well, we're going to get into that for sure. By the way, Donnie, you weren't very happy with the times for these games. Donnie is very big on times. Everyone goes to sleep at 10 o'clock like he does, so shouldn't be a game at 9:55. Donnie, it's Saturday. That's just how they go.
I don't mind the game getting over at 9:55, but let's be serious. And also, Jeff, we're going to end because we're going to get into the games here, and we have plenty of time. But I just want to say this: the Syracuse kids and the Houston kids, Jeff. They got to sit around all day today. Probably woke up early as hell, so excited.
Got to sit around all week.
They tip at 10 o'clock on the East Coast. This isn't tipping at 10 o'clock in LA where it's 7 o'clock. You're East Coast time here, tipping at 10 o'clock. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's rough for sure. They should. I would have tried to do this why isn't this first game starting at 12:40?
I don't know. Yes, correct.
Second game at 3.
Yeah.
Third game at 5:30.
Next game at 8, prime time, 8 o'clock Saturday night. Let's go.
That is one thing I don't get about it. You also are going up against, as you said, UFC.
Big UFC matchup tonight, yes.
By the way, I heard that sold out. Did you hear that? Is that true?
For fans or pay-per-view?
No, for fans.
I imagine it is. I'm even somebody who doesn't watch a lot of UFC. I like when the big boys come out to play. Miocic and Nagano coming out tonight. I'm interested in that.
You got to be you got to be a. Not for nothing. I have the vaccine. I took it. You took it as well. I'm not running to hang out at arenas around all sorts of people. What's up with that? Yeah. Dana White, I get it, but it's come on, man. It's not yet.
Got to make that money. People trying to make that money, Jeff. But no, back to the point there. I am an old man, so Jeff always gets on me about this stuff. But it just when there's no when we have the first and second rounds, Jeff, and you have so many games, you tip at 12 o'clock, you end up at 10. The games are at 1. I understand that fully, but the fact you only have 4 games here and they're located on the East Coast, absolutely no reason to tip at 9:55. I'm not even saying you should have the game on at 3:30 in the afternoon. What's wrong with an 8 o'clock tip tonight in that game and spread the other games out? It baffles me. It does.
Yeah, I mean, look, I ultimately don't care. I mean, I'll be up. I step till 2, 3 o'clock anyway. But yeah, I hear you. It's definitely helpful, I think, if they did it a little earlier. But James Thomas says college kids are up to 1 or 2. Well, you're not really marked. College kids aren't your core demographic for these games. I know a lot of people think they are, but outside of these 2 teams, I think gamblers, which are college kids, but most college kids aren't watching this tonight, Donnie. Do you agree with that?
Probably right. And I understand there is 80% of the public lives east of the Mississippi. So, I mean, I understand where you want the West Coast TV market, which will be in play at 6:55. I understand all that, but I wouldn't even have an issue, Jeff, because Golden State and the Lakers, they're on the West Coast. So when they tip at 10 o'clock, I can't say, that ain't right. What did you want them to tip at 4 o'clock out there? The fans still got to get in the building. That's their home arena. That's their home time zone. But when I see an East Coast game tipping at 10 o'clock with 2, Houston's Central or whatever, but Syracuse is East. I don't understand the time frame. That's all I'm saying. But yes, college kids are up till 2 a.m. Gratefully so. But anyway.
I don't seem to ever understand anything that sports do. It's always the most backwards ideas.
There's a reason behind it, but yet they never explain it to us, Jeff.
Well, there was reason. It was why did we have a different tourney schedule this year? Oh, it's for logistics. Okay, well, which ones?
Yeah, we're religious. We don't really have any fans. We have a million arenas to use, so time is not an issue. Hey, Jeff, we only have one building. We got to fit 75 games over 4 weeks in one building alone. It didn't make any sense. And they go, oh, well, COVID. Well, you're telling me it was because you wanted to push it back one day. That helps COVID. It was pretty funny. I still haven't got a straight answer on that.
By the way, so I got to ask you one other thing about this, and then we'll get into the game.
Yeah.
So there's this girl I've been talking to recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
She wants to go on a date tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Is that a violation to do that?
Violation in what? Because it's COVID or because it's basketball?
No.
What are we talking about?
No, we both got the vaccine, but no, because of the tournament. I'm not gonna
No, absolutely not.
Not right.
Absolutely not. Just have a TV, because most of the places you go now,
I don't even
spread out.
I don't even want a TV. I'm good to just not watch it. I'm okay.
Yeah, just get the update on the phone every once in a while between ordering.
I'm going to Luck Fu. I'm excited about that. Do you know where
whatever that is? No, but
it's this new.
What are we eating?
It's this sushi spot at Philly Live. It's awesome. So I'm excited.
There you go. Well, then you will have TVs around you. Who are you kidding?
Well, not in the restaurant. It's back in the corner. It's back by the baccarat tables in the back. So
yeah.
There's no TVs. That's okay. But I don't care. If you got an issue with me, what I'm doing, contact me. I don't care. Listen, I'm growing up, Donnie. This could be a good woman, all right?
Yep.
I got to
settle down. You got to settle down with the roots, man.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into some college basketball today. And by the way, I don't know who you guys are out there, but if you're watching these shows and we're giving you plays and information and you haven't wagered yet, maybe there are a few of you out there. You know where you need to get down at? The FanDuel Sportsbook, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, if you go on the Philly Live, there is a beautiful FanDuel Sportsbook right in Philly Live. But obviously, we're talking about getting on the internet, eligible states out there, find out who's eligible for FanDuel. And if you are in a state, Jeff, that is eligible, you still have the option to get in the month of March for the $1,000 free play. So if you like Loyola today, if you like Houston, if you like Syracuse, whoever you like today in March Madness, place a $1,000 wager. If you lose that wager, Jeff, FanDuel refunds you that rate on site, and you can build that bankroll all the way through. If you haven't done so yet, there's links below. Right below where we're talking right now. Click on that. Get to FanDuel. Eligible states must be 21 or older to participate, but it's a wonderful thing. And who are you people if you haven't used it already?
Agreed. Totally agree. If you're in a qualifying state and you don't have FanDuel, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Come on.
Got to get FanDuel. Let's jump into the games, Donnie. 2 6:40 Eastern time. Let's do it.
Let's go right away. Oregon State, Loyola, Chicago, Jeff's favorite. And this is good, Jeff. You're going out this weekend, but you get that first game in, right? You don't have to wait.
This is sweet. Give me the game right out of the gate.
You didn't want to see this one at 9:55 tonight. Like, come on, man. I got to wait all day for this. Or Sunday night. Jeff gets his game right out of the gate, sitting on that big 300-1 ticket. Let's get started here. Rotation-wise, 625, 626, Oregon State, Loyola, Chicago. Total opened up, Jeff, 126, which is really low. Drops to 125. Here's the crux of the argument. Not a lot of line movement this week. Loyola, Chicago opens up at 7 at FanDuel, Jeff. We are still sitting at 7 today. We're not talking about 160-point total here where you're going to get a lot of possessions to cover that 7. Good for Loyola, Jeff. They're very efficient on offense. They don't need, to come down and fire on the shot clock 5 seconds into it like their old school Loyola Marymount. This is Loyola Chicago getting after it. Now, here's the crux of the argument for me. Oregon State has had a great run. This wasn't like we talked to Jeff yesterday on another show saying, hey, Villanova's playing. Hey, great, they're in the Sweet 16. Not every Sweet 16 run is exactly the same. Loyola Chicago's out here beating the ACC tournament champions and then taking down, some people thought, an Illinois team that could get right to the final and maybe do some damage against Gonzaga. They've done well, but also Oregon State, Jeff. Tough road to hoe here, talking about through the Pac-12 tournament and in their first 2 games. Very impressive as well. Both teams technically like to slow it down, do have some shot makers. So I'm going to throw it to you first, Jeff. Looking at the total, 125, it's low. Looking at Loyola Chicago, -7. Where are we going in this game?
You got me here, Donnie? Everything
I got you.
Right? Yeah, it went off for a little bit. Hopefully we're still on the air. Looks like we're still on the air. I'm very excited. Now, I will say right out of the gate, I do not think Loyola lose. Okay, but the question is, do I think they win? Because, Donnie, let's be real. They got to win this game by double digits, basically, right? I mean, they got to win.
That's correct. 10. You're looking at 10 points. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So let me just kind of break down on how and what Loyola will do. Look, we all have seen Loyola. We know how just incredible they are on the defensive end. They just don't allow much of anything. They switch. They move around. Their athleticism is not the highest in the country, but it is absolutely elite. They're just always in the right places. And, on offense, they take a lot of good shots. Okay, they make their shots. They move the ball through Krutwick, a lot of dribble handoffs. They rebound the ball, okay, so they don't allow easy second possessions. There's just a lot to like about them. They're not just a flash in the pan anymore. They're not just a mid-major. They're a really good basketball team and a strong unit throughout. When I look at Oregon State, I'll say it in the simplest terms. They need to make threes, okay? It's pretty simple, okay? If they go, 7 for 27 from 3, they're going to get run out of the building. Okay, it's just there's not going to be many other paths to offense because they're not going to get to the free throw line. Loyola doesn't foul you. There's just very little. They're not going to offensive rebound. They're going to have to do something down in this game that doesn't normally happen. They're going to have to go off, or they're going to have to get every loose ball, which is possible, but it's not sustainable, I think, to win. They are going to they did have a week to prepare for this game, and I'm sure Wayne Tinkle will figure something out. Their goal also, Donnie, is they've got to hope Loyola Chicago is going to miss their threes as well because they're going to zone Loyola. They run a zone about 30% of the time. So they're a group that run zone, play zone. If I have to play this game, I think the bet is the under. I think both these teams, they're both in the 300s from a tempo standpoint. They're both very sloggy and slow. They both defend. And I think it's going to come down to one team's going to make a few more threes than the other. I kind of had this as 62, 52, something like that. I think it's a low-scoring basketball game. I think it struggles to get to 120. And that's how both these teams are going to prefer to play. Gabe Tadino says 7 is not double digits.
All right. So how much? So if the line is 7, which means how much you have to win by to cash this, Jeff?
To feel good, you have to be up double digits to feel comfortable. So
that means you're up. Yeah, exactly. You have to win by at least 8 to put money in your pocket, which means one possession makes it 10. Thank you, Gabe.
I want to be at 15. What? Is everything literal on the internet? Seriously, it's wild. You could say the sky's blue, and someone will say, "Well, it's not blue. It's more."
Well, when the clouds come in, Jeff, it's kind of gray.
Yeah. Shut up. It's blue. it's weird, man. Everybody's literal on the internet.
Yes.
It's wild. But yeah, ultimately, I think for me, I have to figure that I would be real surprised if Loyola lose. I think they would have to be really terrible from the 3-point line, and Oregon State's gonna have to be like 12 for 23 from three. Like I just don't see it. I think Loyola will advance. Do I think they cover? Probably.
If you're looking to hook in like money line parlay type stuff, I would be very surprised though, Jeff. I mean, Oregon State is a really good basketball team. Whether or not they cover is another story, but I honestly would be surprised if Loyola Chicago loses this game. I took a little bit different of approach here. I understand exactly what you're saying. And Loyola Chicago's defense ranked number 2 overall in the country in adjusted efficiency, which means they're not giving up a lot of open looks. You know, they're slowing you down. They're making you throw 5 to 6 passes. You're not getting a wide open 3 ball, Jeff, with 19 seconds on the shot clock every time. But I do find it interesting that Oregon State on their run through the tournament and also in the Pac-12, they face some pretty good defenses, anywhere between 63rd in the country down to number 4. Now, if we take a look at their last 5 ball games, which include coming into the NCAA tournament and also the Pac-12 tournament, they faced 63rd in the country, which was UCLA. Did go to overtime, but if you take that away, they still scored 70 points in regulation. Then they went on to play the team that's 52nd in the country in adjusted efficiency on defense. They put up 75 in that game. Then they downshifted to a team that was in the top 25, actually ranked 24. They scored 70 points in that game. Then also the number 4 overall defensive adjustment team in the country, Jeff. They scored 70 points against that team. And most recently against the 20th team in the nation, they put up 80. Their team total in this game is 59 points. And sometimes, Jeff, and I know you bring up the same point, as long as you're in the ballpark, you have a chance for victory. You said even in a slow down game, Oregon State, maybe they get 52, 53 points in that range. That's still not that far off of the 59. Right. I think they're going to be in that ballpark. And for me, picking each and every game, it's hard for me to say, I think Loyola is going to win the game, but Oregon State covers. You see what I mean by that? Well, you have to think Oregon State has a legitimate chance to win the game. I think Oregon State has a legitimate chance, Jeff, to get to 60 points in this game. That's the way I'm going with an Oregon State team total over 59.
I hope you're wrong, just in the case I have the under. Yeah. But I think we have to account, and I do agree with your point. Listen, defenses are deep. Like, if you're a good defensive, you're good defensive, but it helps when you are going to make the game a complete like both teams want to take 25 seconds off the clock, and that's your issue. This is a super slow down game.
Correct.
In the games you mentioned, they're a little higher tempo. USC or UCLA, whoever.
Who was the slowest at it? Because somebody had a tempo that was down in the high 300s here. Was it Tennessee? Let me get this. No, Tennessee was 232 in the country in adjusted tempo. Oklahoma State was really quick, but what was the game where they had a amazing slowdown? Colorado slow at 277. That wasn't it. Maybe it's Oregon, 227. There was one where I thought that was really, really low in there. I'm going to look forward to. I'm going to go back and look through that. But you're right. There's teams that play slow, and there's teams that play really slow. You're right about that.
Here's one other thing I'll point out, Donnie. In the first 2 games of this tournament,
UCLA slow. That's the team I was looking at. Go ahead.
In the first 2 games of this tournament, they played Tennessee and they played Oklahoma State, Oregon State. Both teams, Donnie, shoot at 33% from 3. Not good. Yeah, they didn't win, obviously. You look at today's team, 36, plus 36%. Big difference. Okay, I
think we lost Jeff here as he froze up on camera. But as we like to say, the show must go on. So hopefully he'll be able to get back in there and, come back in. But going over it, again, the reason why I'm taking the Oregon State team total over the 59 points is, as I stated here, they're used to playing some upper echelon teams. And again, when we're looking at shots that have to be made in the NCAA tournament against really good basketball squads, it's sort of tough to get after it because if you score, again, like I'm saying, UCLA scored 70 points in regulation. Oregon scored 75, Colorado 70, Tennessee 70, and Oklahoma State 80. Yeah, Oklahoma State is up tempo, so you figure there are going to be some points in that basketball game once they finally get up in tempo. But looking at it from a perspective, because as we take a look at the FanDuel Sportsbook, I'm going to also go over and take a look here. And I'm going to just go widescreen, I guess, on this until the big man on campus pops back up here. But looking at the team totals, which sometimes I like to dip into, because when you're taking a side in each and every game, who out here, honesty, Give me an opinion here in the chat box. Who is taking the under 125, though? Think about that. Taking the under 125. That means both of these teams approach 60 points in this game. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. I don't think it's overall the case, but my goodness, like, are we sweating out the 125 out here? Are one of you guys going to do that? It's amazing. 120. Think about the scores. 30-25 at the half. You usually go, man, that game's a stone cold under, right? It's not in this game. 30-25, you're basically on pace to get to 125. It's close here. You know, Julian says, good luck, fellas. Donnie, I agree and jumped on the over 59. That's just the way I'm looking at it here. Yeah, there you go. JD Films. 125 is not, it's not worth the sweat. How do you watch it? How do you watch it on TV if you have an under? You are chewing your fingernails each and every time they come down the court. A missed layup. Ooh, thank goodness. They come down once I hit a three. Up, there goes my over. There goes my under at 125. It probably is going to be a boring game, but then again, it's the afternoon appetizer game. And I'm looking forward to watching Loyola Chicago versus Oregon State. But again, getting back to the point here on FanDuel, if we take a look at the points, 59 is Oregon State. Seems low. They're going to be in that range. I doubt Oregon State ends up in the 40s. If they do, Loyola Chicago is going to be able to run all the way through. Like, I have no idea how that's going to turn out if Oregon State can't even play. But I just wanted to show you guys the matchups that they've had in the past against some pretty good defensive opponents and gotten to at least the 70s each and every time. And you're just trying to give yourself a chance at 59, but then flipping it over. From the other perspective here, Loyola Chicago's team total is 66. So if it's 66, you still got to get close to 70. Should they be able to do that? Absolutely. But if I'm looking at a game, and you guys in the chat box as well, you feel more comfortable with a legitimate team, which Oregon State has been since their run through the Pac-12 tournament and the NCAA tournament, that 59 should be doable. And again, if you have, let's just say, 25 points at the half for Oregon State, which is a really low number, you're still not out of it. If you look at any other game where your team with a team total has 25 points at the half, it's pretty much a wrap at that point. And even in a teaser, you'll be sweating. 125, man. We got games at 160, so it's like, hey, they're running up and down the court. You still have a chance. But if the game is 40-32 at the half, it's over. You lost the total. It's a wrap if you're sitting on the under 125. Gabe says, Donnie, reteam totals. Do you lay extra juice for half points? I really don't do that. I don't do that. So specifically when looking at FanDuel, you can't really technically buy down like a half of a point. There are some alternate totals that you can go with, but I don't really see the difference. And again, you're talking about low-scoring games. So as I say, I don't see the difference. Watch the game at 58.5 as opposed to 59. That's big. And how many? I've already lost 2 games in the NCAA tournament this year on team totals by a half point. So it's funny when you bring up, do you buy the half point? And I say no, and actually lost 2 games already by a half point. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in here. Jeff having a little bit of technical difficulties trying to fight his way back in here. Thank you guys for the thumbs up, thumbs down. Also hitting the subscriber button. Almost a couple hundred people here. Actually 165 currently watching live here early on a Saturday, talking some college hoops with us. We're going to go over the entire card here, but I'm going to try to buy some time here until the big man gets back so we can break down the other 3 games. Now, I could break it down all by myself and have some fun, and maybe I might have to, but I know the big man will probably be in here in just a few moments. But the Michael Wang says, waiting patiently for the real games, the NIT. Yeah, see, big man was thumbing his nose at the NIT. I've been mopping up here in-game get bets, and the good part about it as well with FanDuel is if you don't like the game to start, right? It wasn't so long, as I continue to preach, that we had to live with it. You got to take a game pregame. Oh, no, who did Donnie or Jeff like? Oh, they just jumped up and I missed it and I can't bet the game. You can bet it all throughout the game on live line. So if you got home late, you had a nice dinner with your wife, girlfriend, significant other, you sit down on the couch, it's 5 minutes in. No, I missed the game. Don't worry about it. Live in-game play, man. You can get team totals live, first half live, halftime live, all throughout the game, sides and totals. It's great stuff here to talk about. And Julian says, all the weed smoke from downstairs. Shut Jeff's internet off. Just got to bang on the floor with his feet, man, to get that internet turned back on. and do some damage. But just looking at this game before we flip it over to the other three, any thoughts or opinions from you guys out there in the chat box from Oregon State Loyola? How do you think it's going to play out? You guys feeling laying the -7 in that game if you are a Loyola Chicago backer, or you're just saying, hey, man, the Pac-12 has been absolutely on fire and red hot in a game lined at 125 as a total. I'm going to sit on the 7 points because I got to tell you guys, if we're sitting on the 7 with Oregon State in the 125, I can't fault you guys. Like, I know how good Loyola Chicago is, but you're telling me a team that has run through, and again, the only team they basically lost to Oregon State in the last month was Oregon, 80-67, beat Cal, beat Stanford, beat Utah, beat UCLA, Oregon, Colorado, Tennessee, and Oklahoma State. I feel you on that. I'd feel you guys. Thanks, Ron. Yes, I am the man. I am the man. Ben says, good morning, Donnie. Good morning to you guys. Ron Parson, I got 100,000 Final Four bet on Oregon State. I'm praying. No, you need to show the ticket, man. You can't come in here with 100K Final Four bet on Oregon State. Or maybe, is it odds that you got for them getting there? Plunked it down. I can see that. But if you got that scratch, Ron, where you put 100K on that wager, I'm going to give you a lot of props because that's 100 times more than I probably would be able to lay down and get down on those games. Nikolai says, Oregon State averaged about 15 points a game from the line. They got to get there, and that's the hard part. Loyola Chicago doesn't foul. So that's certainly a tough one to take a look at overall. Akbar says, Loyola's going to crush that team down. Now, see, look, Akbar, I don't mind. I don't mind. Give me 80-60. 80-60. Crush them. Just give me the 60 points. We'll come away happy in this one. James Thomas, Oregon State has just been too hot handling teams with great pedigrees. I agree. See, sometimes you got to look. Now, here's the crux of the argument on that. You played in the Pac-12 tournament, March 11th, 12th, and 13th. Red hot, red hot, red hot, right? Feels good. You take the 6 days off. You get hot again. You beat Tennessee and Oklahoma State. But now you get another week off before you face Loyola Chicago. That's the only thing that I'm worried a little bit about, because you talk about Porter Mosier as the head coach. That team is going to be rocking, rolling, and ready to get after it. Krutwig has it. Krutwig's awesome. And again, you're talking about betting against a team with Loyola Chicago to do everything right. When you watch the game, you're not surprised that they dominate on both ends of the court after you watch them. Because most people say, Loyola Chicago, who's that? What's that? Did you watch the game against Illinois? If you didn't know and didn't watch a lot of college basketball, you know what happens in that game? You go, I think Loyola Chicago actually is the better overall team from what I've seen. But usually from seeding gets in the way and confuses us on all that stuff. Cliff Dennis, I'm on Loyola -6.5. Simple Skills Gaming, Loyola coaching put on a masterclass against Illinois. That's what they do. They are so well coached. Their game plans are so thought out, and they play well behind it. If they're such a tough out, man, it's craziness. It really is. Let's get to the next game here. We'll wait for the big man on campus to rejoin us here on the show. But as I said, it's a live show. We'll do it live, and the show must go on. So if we slide it down, the second game of the day in the NCAA March Madness Tournament, a 5:15 tip. This is between Baylor and Villanova. So if we get between this game here, Villanova's offense on the season, very good. No Colin Gillespie, maybe a little bit of difference. Jeff and I already talked about it. You're going to the Sweet 16. Most teams have an elite look. And what I mean by that is Oregon State, elite, knocking off really good teams. Coming into the tournament, knocking off some really good teams. Villanova seeming like, oh, all right, Winthrop. Yeah, everybody says, oh, Winthrop's going to beat Villanova. It's still Winthrop, right? Oh, North Texas is going to give them a lot of problems on defense. It's still North Texas. You're stepping up in weight class here, going against the Baylor Bears. Those easy jumpers, those easy looks, they're not going to be around. You do whatever you want against Winthrop's defense, right? You come against North Texas, yes, scrappy group, but certainly not a primo grade A type of environment here for North Texas to try to knock you off. Credit Villanova, put them away very easily. So now when we get into the crux of the argument here, Baylor, top 5 team in the country on offense. Nobody in the country shoots a better percentage from three-point range than the Baylor Bears do. Defensively as well, top 40 teams. They're going to get after you. They're going to be every bit as athletic and if not more athletic than Villanova without Colin Gillespie, their floor general on the floor. So as we go through it, the one thing that Villanova does have a slight advantage, but this is based on the entire year, is they don't turn the basketball over. But it's a lot easier to not turn the basketball over when you have a Colin Gillespie on the court who's no longer there now in March Madness. And yes, the first 2 games in the tournament. Winthrop, okay. Yeah, I know North Texas plays a scrappy brand of basketball and plays good defense. It's still North Texas. This isn't a Power 5 team that plays extremely good defense. So now you get the advantage on Baylor's side. And I see Simple Skills Gaming love Baylor at -7. The interesting part about this is if you just look at that line, right? So if we're going over to the FanDuel Sportsbook and say, hold on now. You're trying to tell me that Villanova, pedigree team, couple championships the last 2 years, in the Sweet 16, you're giving me the 7.5, I'm going to take it? Not so fast, because you have to look at who they're now leveling up against competition. If Baylor is shooting just their average, folks, from 3-point range, just average, that's 40%. That's unbelievable. If they're shooting above their average, Villanova has no shot. I'm talking like 1% above your average, 42%. Villanova has no shot in this game. So I do like the Baylor Bears laying the points, but I have to say this. 2 teams solid defensively. We know Baylor operates a little bit faster on offense than Villanova does, but you get a week off. Villanova's game plan is not to outrun Baylor and try to outscore them. Villanova's offensive game plan today with Jay Wright should be efficient. Don't turn the basketball over. Make your open looks, because the one thing I do like, Baylor scores a lot of their points by forcing turnovers. A top 5 team in the country at forcing them. That's easy buckets on the other end. If Villanova technically is the number 1 team in the nation at not turning the basketball over, that's going to cut down on some fast break points. So for me in this game, there's been a significant buy-up, because as I look at the odds that opened up at FanDuel earlier in the week in this game, opened up at 138.5 as a total. We now sit at the 142 as a total in this game, and I'm going with the under 142 in this game. Doesn't sound like a lot of points, but 70-60, that doesn't even come close to that total of 142. You see where I'm going with this? It sounds like it's not a lot of points, but when you put it into play with what you get out of Baylor and Villanova not turning the basketball over, giving away 10 or 15 fast break points the other way, it stacks up really well. A week off, you study film, you watch the competition, you get a feel for their sets. Maybe all you need is a slower start under the first TV timeout. Give me a 7-6. Give me a 7-5 where they don't get out absolutely red hot in that basketball game. I'm going with it. I'm taking the under. So what do you guys think about this game? As I just put off a nice little soliloquy here for us. What are we thinking in the Villanova-Baylor game? Stepping up in competition? Or are you saying, man, I love Jay Wright, but Jay Wright doesn't have a monster advantage. I always like to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers under Brett Brown. Every time they took the court, they're getting out-coached by the other side. Scott Drew is a sensational coach for Baylor down there in Waco. So it's not as if Jay Wright's going to come in and coach the pants off Scott Drew. That's not going to happen in this one. It's not going to happen. The one way for Villanova to stick around in this game is obviously be ultra efficient on offense and hope that Baylor doesn't shoot their average of roughly 42% from 3-point range. Cliff Dennis is on the over. I can't fault you for that. The under is 142. That's what I have it at in this game. Because as I'm looking, I'm just trying to progress and see why that number is moving up. It's very easy to see because Baylor is a top 5 offense. Hey, Donnie, Baylor's going to score on anybody. They're going to run them out. They're going to beat them by 10-plus points. I get that. But I also like the fact in this game that if you're projecting a line of 7.5 points, there's a good chance that Baylor might be up double digits in the last minute and a half of this game, and we don't have a foul fest. That's also what I like, because if this game was lined and Baylor was only -3, you might get that last minute and a half explosion. I'm kind of hoping Baylor has secured this basketball game late so we don't actually get that run. Kevin K asks, what's the Baylor team total? Let's take a look at both team totals in this game to see if you guys like any of these options. Villanova's team total, 67.5. It's not a very high number here. If we take a look at Baylor, 74.5. Not an incredibly high number for Baylor as well. But the eyes play tricks on you, because if we look at the opening line of 138.5, it's risen roughly, let's just say, 3.5 points, 4 points in this direction. It'll be interesting to see how they come out and play, but it's at Hinkle Fieldhouse, so you have some good shooting, eyes. Like we like to say, the backdrop. We're not playing in a aircraft carrier Superdome here like Lucas Oil. You are playing at Hinkle Fieldhouse, so that should help out here. Brandon Kunkel, Donnie the 20, do you find more success with team totals or sides? I have to tell you, usually I'm a team total guy during the regular season, but when we flip over to the tournament, not so much. But the reason I have I actually have 2 team totals on the card today, is because I'm trying to pick every single game to try to find an advantage. Normally there's 4 games on today. You guys know me. I'm not taking all 4 games, but I'm trying to get through the tournament to see what that number is going to be for me at the end of the tournament, profitable or not profitable. But I do see more success in the tournament with unders and taking the points, because I did coin the phrase not too long ago, take the points and pray. And sometimes when you guys watch these games, you go, why did I just take the points, man? Why did I try to get fancy on here and lay a 7.5 when this game is a 2-point game coming down the stretch and the favorite team doesn't even have the lead? That's the way I look at it on this end of it. Ron Wallace, going with Baylor over 72, got it early in the week. I can't fault you for that. It's a good number. You're getting that CLV. And Baylor has a really, really good offense. The factor for me on the under is not particularly the Baylor offense itself. It's Baylor holding down Villanova as they step up in competition in this game. So that's what I look at. Normally me taking the points and praying and taking an under, because more likely than not, these kids are going to go for some scoring surges, but also going to go through that where you see that ticker at the bottom of the screen. Villanova has not scored in the last 4 minutes and 22 seconds. Then you know you're on your way. And I'm also looking and hoping. I do have a Baylor ticket in my pocket for the championship at 6-1. Would love to see Baylor win today. Would love to see it go under the total so it can keep moving on. Cliff Dennis, I don't think Nova is really good. They were really good. They still have some really good players. But when you knock the snake's head off, and that's Colin Gillespie, it's pretty hard for the body to react appropriately, especially when you're moving up in competition. Because the same way we started talking about this game is the same way I feel. Villanova didn't go through Illinois and some other big-time performers out here. Villanova went up against 2 teams that are a little bit lower. And it looks like we finally got the big man on campus back in action today over here, huh?
Oh, good stuff, Donnie. Great work getting through that. As you know, nothing I can do. Looks like there was some sort of outage or something. I had to reset my modem and all that kind of stuff. But I have a Ethernet cable directly plugged in, so it's never really an internet issue. But we're here. Just putting a bow, Donnie, on the previous game. I like the under. I know you are leaning in over. Here's what I'd like to see here.
Yeah.
64-60.
60. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for including me. I do appreciate that. I do.
Just Loyola win, game stays under. As far as this game,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Villanova is going to struggle in this game. Okay. I don't know where the constant offense comes from. It's not like you lose a good wing player and you can kind of figure it out in a way like Michigan could with a Livers. You're losing the floor general. And this is where it's really going to hurt you against Mitchell and those kids down at Baylor. They're big, they're strong guards. They're gonna beat Arcidiacono up. And I think that's gonna cut into your depth a little bit. You're gonna have to get back to other guys and play other guys. But I don't know if they have other guys, Donnie. We've talked before about their depth. They don't have a ton of depth if you're Villanova. They're one of the, as far as this tournament, they're one of the lowest as far as depth in the country. You talked about Baylor's ability to shoot threes. That's your concern with an under, and they just kind of run away and win like Oregon did and just roll. But all in all, I think this just kind of screamed double-digit victory. But I'm going to tell you this: Baylor's been good in the first half this year, one of the best first half teams in America. I think getting in on them early could be the play here as well. Just kind of, I think those guards struggle. Jalen makes some adjustments, and they'll maybe try to keep it close in the second half. But I don't know. I have a hard time thinking how this isn't like 41-32 or something at the half, which wouldn't bode great for your under. But, something kind of like that. I don't think Baylor has trouble in the first half here. I think they come out. They're the better team. They're better defensively. They have a lot under them on that end. It's kind of like that Wisconsin game, Donnie, where they were kind of up 10 at the half. And it's going to be a question for the second half. Can they continue this performance and or be better in the second half? I think the first half's kind of interesting here. I kind of like Baylor. I liked them the other night in the first half, and I kind of like them here again.
Line screams Baylor, though, right, Jeff? Like, you look at that line, the public would see them like 7.5. I'm taking Villanova in this game. Villanova's really good, and they can win this game. That line is screaming, you better get your behind on Baylor, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I think Villanova, you're hard-pressed to believe they can win this game. Again, that's when Jay Wright seemingly does a great job. Drew is obviously coached really well also. I don't think you can really exploit Robertson Earl to matchups like you were able to do against Winthrop and North Texas. Baylor, I think, has that. I know they have the guys. Butler, Mitchell, and Teague are just terrific at the guard position. And, I like what I've seen from, Vital and Meyer. And look, Matt Meyer, I mean, that kid's been electric. I mean, he doesn't miss. They don't miss. I mean, they have 5 guys that shoot it at 39% or better from 3. I mean, that's
what when you're off the air. Here's what I was saying, Jeff. If Baylor shoots just average from 3-point range, that's an obliteration of your opponent. Just average. Can you imagine, Jeff, if they go a little above their average, a little bit? How many times do we look at teams and be like, hey, they shoot 32% from 3. If they can go a little bit higher, they'll be okay. A little bit higher is damn near 50% from 3, Jeff. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and like one of the issues Nova has had, even when Gillespie is healthy, is they are not great defensively. And I think that's ultimately where if you have an under like you do, you're concerned. Because I feel like Baylor can get to 80. I don't think that – I mean, they usually do.
Yeah. No, so it's great points that you bring up on that end. And by the way, Jeff, when you were off the air for a couple minutes, I mean, this is why me and Jeff do this stuff. Like some people, Jeff, new to the game, might freeze up when their co-host goes out. Like, oh, my God, like I can't even talk about anything. Look, the show must go on. We're professionals, Jeff, right? We're pros.
Yeah, always got to be prepared for, things to happen. It doesn't happen much, but, we don't control the computers or the systems, sadly. So
let's keep going, Jeff. Here, by the way, first 2 games, real quick recap from you. Oregon State and Oregon State, Loyola, Chicago, and obviously Baylor and Villanova. 2 things that you're looking at there, and then we'll move on to the third game.
Yeah, I think the first game I'm leaning under. I played that in the contest. I think it's a real slogfest, man. Real rock fight. I think the only way it goes over is if they just are unconsciously hot from 3.
Foul the hell out of each other. Yeah, who knows?
Right. And generally when you look at, particularly Loyola, they don't do that. So it wouldn't surprise me also, Donnie, if Loyola run away and win like 65-50. Like I think they could really shut down Oregon State. But
looking forward to it, man.
We'll see. As far as the other game, I lean Baylor first half. I think Baylor full game's probably pretty good as well. I'll be honest, Baylor team total 74 seems a little low. I mean, I think they get to 75. I mean,
they should.
Villanova, put
it this way, Jeff. If Baylor's not in the 70s, Villanova is a live dog in this game to win outright. That's
the sweet spot you want here. Yeah. You want 76-60. That's if for you and for me. That's kind of where it would bode well. I think Baylor could do the trifecta. They're up at the half by 7 or 8. They run away, win by 15. Game still stays under because Baylor, I think, has to continue to defend at a high level. They fell off a little bit around the COVID pause, but recently they've been a bit better. I got to tell you, last thing, I think it kind of shakes out like the Wisconsin game. They win by 13-16, something like that.
This next game, Jeff, I'm using the same blueprint that I've used all tournament long, and it's been sensational. A team that's not as athletic as the other team. Their chance to be in this game is to be in it in the first half. Like the Colgates of the world.
Yes.
Like, hey, let's shock them for a little bit, make a couple threes, get in, get out with a victory. We've done it on multiple occasions here. I'm doing it again. Oral Roberts versus Arkansas. Arkansas, obviously, clearly the better ball club. And they also are a top 10 rated adjusted defense in the country. Here's the thing that we like again, Jeff. You're talking about Oral Roberts. 38% from 3-point range and in volume. Let's take a look at this game. If Oral Roberts in the first half is 2 for 14 from 3, I got news for you. They're getting blown out. They're not going to cover the entire way through. I'm looking at it through the lens of this team has had a week to get ready. They're not shocked anymore. They beat 2 really good Power 5 opponents. I think they're going to get off the bus, be ready to go. Give me an average 3-point shooting percentage from Oral Roberts in the first half. I'm taking Oral Roberts first half plus 6 points. What are you looking at in this game here, Jeff?
Yeah, I was pretty mystified by the first 2 teams that Oral Roberts played in Ohio State and Florida. Any good coach can look at a team and diagnose what they're doing and how to stop it for whatever reason, they just allowed O'Banner and Asmus to just do whatever they wanted. These teams play these like drop coverages where they just let them operate at the top of the key and do whatever they want, hand it off, pick and pop, all sorts of things, and they're just getting shredded by it. Donnie, I go back. The first game these two teams played was a blueprint to this game because in that game, if you watched it, Arkansas was down 10 at the half on December 20th of this group, okay? They had a kid called Connor Vanover in the game, 7'3", white kid, slow, just doesn't belong in their rotation.
Yeah.
In the first half, he struggled. They went to halftime. Musbus took him out, and they just started basically switching 1 to 5, small ball lineup, Justin Smith. They were able to really shut down O'Banner. And Asmus, Donnie, had his worst game of the season against Arkansas. Yeah. If I'm Musselman, I institute the same situation here. 1 to 5, switch, make it tough on those two. If you can take those two out of the game, they struggle. And Arkansas has been the one team that's been able to do that. I agree. It could be trouble first half for Arkansas because they do generally play very slow in the first 10 minutes. And I think that's your option here. But for me, I think as the week went on, it became more and more obvious to me. I think this game shakes a lot out like the Colgate game. I think for 40 minutes, Arkansas just 1 to 5, shuts down Asmus and O'Banner and says, someone else beat us. I don't know if Oral Roberts has those type of guys. And I think one thing Oral Roberts struggles is defensively they are horrible. I mean, they don't get stops. They're going to have major issues on the defensive end against this team because this team at their best is downhill, fast. Tate, Note, Moody, just downhill. They make shots. They have some issues at times with bad shots, but I think when they put their head down and just say, we're more athletic than these teams, we're better than these teams, we could score against these teams, they're not going to have any trouble scoring here, Donnie. And I think ultimately they run away and win, 85-67, 87-70, something like that. I'm going to lean on Arky to win this game and cover the number.
You're right, and they should be able to do whatever they want on offense. The key denominator for me is I need 5 3 balls to go down, Jeff, from Oral Roberts in the first half, and I should be having a decent look at that +6. And from the same thing earlier, if they're not covering in the first half, look, I know Oral Roberts can come back and stick some threes in the second half, but as an underdog mentality, you have to get to the locker room within striking distance or have the lead. They've shown the ability to do that in the first half, so I'm going to back them again here with Oral Roberts. High number in this game as well, because if we're looking and setting the table, -11.5 is a little bit juicy there, but we're not talking about the 125s, 135s, 145s, Jeff. 158 in this game. What do you think about the game total in this one?
Yeah, this number's been bet down. A lot of sharper, better money coming in on the under, and I can't say I disagree with it. I think
I'm an under guy in this one. I am.
Yeah, I think Arkansas score a lot, but I think Oral Roberts have major problems here. And somebody's saying, Lloyd Mass is saying, ORU game plan for that also. When? I mean, they got blown out in the second half in that game when they made adjustments. Donnie, in the second half of that game, they were outscored 57-31 or 36 in the second half. That's a 21-point input, and they give up 57 points in the second half. They were not prepared whatsoever for it. And you can make the case that today they will be, and that, I think, lends a lot more to the under. I agree with the move down. I think 158 is still a solid price. I just don't know if this is 90-80. I just don't. I think Arkansas is kind of set in that 80s, mid-80s number, and I have Will Roberts at like 70. I think it's a lot like the Colgate game where, Oral Roberts kind of realized at one point, hey, we're just kind of outclassed here. And John Noble makes another good point. The boards are going to be a problem for Oral Roberts as well. This team is not going to just be able to run around like they did in the first 2 games. For whatever reason, Mike White and Chris Holtman just allowed that drop coverage to stay, and they were just allowed to do whatever they wanted to do. I don't think that happens in this game. I think Arkansas has some real success here on both sides.
Late night game, 9:55, Syracuse and Houston. Another maybe eyebrow-raising line, Jeff, where Houston is -6.5 over Syracuse. Syracuse doing one of they shouldn't belong in the tournament, and here they are in the Sweet 16. The matchup for me to watch is, obviously, Houston is a phenomenal defensive team. They got great guard play, but Syracuse going to have that overall size advantage, which they have on most teams. It seems like you can't go to Syracuse, Jeff, unless you're at least 6'7" with a Dikembe Mutombo wingspan to play that matchup 2-3 zone. But I'm looking at one matchup here. It's Houston, top 100 team at shooting threes in the country, about 35%, which is nice, but they shoot a volume of three. You know who lets you shoot a volume of three? The Syracuse defense. This game comes down to the ability to make the three-point shot. We saw it against San Diego State. Couldn't make anything. If you make your three-point shots, you beat Syracuse. I'm banking in this game, Jeff, that Houston makes a good amount of three-point shots. I'm not taking Houston in this game to lay the line. I'm taking Houston, Jeff, on a team total over 73.5. Syracuse, Houston, Jeff, what's your opinion here?
Yeah, you make a good point about the threes. It definitely fits almost into what Houston wants to do. Houston doesn't score at the rim. Outside of – here's when they do score at the rim, though. They are an elite offensive rebounding team, and that's where they're going to hurt Syracuse there. Syracuse doesn't rebound a ball. They just don't. They're one of the worst rebounding teams in this tournament.
They're just trees. They're big, slow trees, Jeff.
Yeah. You look at their defensive rebound rate. It's 340th in America. That's disturbing. That's really bad. And this is a bad matchup from that standpoint. But you're right. Houston has no issue kind of just shooting the basketball. And they need Dejan Giroux to be kind of quasi-healthy here. And he was the other night. He was one of their best players. Yeah. They have to have him healthy here. But I just think Houston is too physical.
All right, looks like Jeff hit the 10-minute mark, froze up again on it. But talking about Syracuse and Houston here, going over that number, and this is the time that we like to use the chat box a lot. I do think Houston wins this game. I actually have a little bit of money on the 6.5 tonight, though, with Syracuse as a fail-safe, because I do think the game is going to come down to the end, but also think Houston should have the ability to get into the 70s by being able to shoot as many three-pointers as they want and shooting them at a high level. But again, we're looking at that Jim Boeheim Syracuse run, which shouldn't surprise us anymore. Here they are shooting three-pointers from the logo in the last game. I don't know if that's going to continue because Houston, a top 15 team on defense overall in the country, three ball is going to be a little bit tougher to go by for Houston, but I do think Houston's offense, should be able to make a fair amount of jump shots in this game, particularly from three-point range. If you look for Houston overall, based on some of these KenPom numbers, number 1 in the country overall at effective field goal percentage, top 15 in defending the three-point shot, top 10 inside the arc. Amazing stuff they do here. Now, the one thing Houston defense does foul a little bit, trying to overcompensate and play, hey, good junkyard defense. You're going to pick up some fouls, a la like VCU picking up full court and fouling in the backcourt. And you're saying, why are you putting this team on the line? If you put Syracuse on the line, 78% overall as a team on the season. So that might be one of those added advantages for Syracuse. If they're stealing points at the free throw line, that's very good as an underdog. If you're getting 6.5, some ways to pick up some quick points overall in this one here. But that's the way I see it here in this game between those. So that's the 4 games of the day that we had. Spend a couple more minutes here before I jump off. Any final thoughts in the chat box of what you're looking forward to? Because the good part about today, it's a Sweet 16. Tomorrow, again, Sunday, both Jeff and myself will be back as well. 9 a.m. Eastern time to get after it for another episode of the Hoops Betting Hour, presented by Picks Wise and powered by the FanDuel Sportsbook. But let's see how many people out there. Give me your plays in the chat box. What did you fire already on today? Because myself, Oregon team total over 59, Baylor under 142, Oral Roberts first half plus the 6 points, and the Houston team total over 73.5. Yeah, there's some NIT games out there, but I didn't really spend too much time looking at those. Memphis, Colorado State. I'm going to cheer on Colorado State just because I like the Mountain West. Mississippi State and Louisiana Tech. Very impressed with Louisiana Tech. I actually would take them in a pick'em or as a slight favorite at the -1. Jeremy DeLeon, worried about Deion Giroux being limited for Houston. Yeah, Jeff said he didn't look all that limited, and good for Houston getting a full week break with the Sweet 16 getting pushed back from a Thursday night start to a Saturday start. That can only help him as well. Boeheim versus Samson, Cuse wins. We'll see. It's a player's game, and this is one of the better teams that Houston has had over the past 20 years. Looks like the big man is back to put a bow on the show, big man. Come on.
Sorry, guys. Yes, sorry, guys. I'm trying to get this connection. It keeps going in and out. I don't know what's going on. Let me just put a bow on the other game. I lean Houston. I think they're just it's kind of reminds me of the other game, Donnie, the first game we talked about.
Yeah.
The Loyola Oregon State. I just think they're more physical. I think they have an option for Buddy Boeheim. They defend Houston really at the foul line, which I think is going to kind of throw him off a little bit. If you could take him out of the game, which I'm sure Kelvin Sampson will try to do, I think you really can take them out of the game. But they're going to have to defend. That's it. That's such an all or nothing game. It's either going to be a high scoring game, both teams are hitting their threes, or it's really tactical and it's going to be difficult. It's to be a low scoring game. It's either going to be one or the other, which is generally how the games shake out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the game I have least amount of opinion on. Lean Houston. I think they'll ultimately win, but I don't have much on it. I'll wrap up. I know who knows when I'll be kicked off again. If I had to play these games today, Loyola and Oregon State under 125.5. I got at the contest. I like Baylor first half. I think that's kind of my stone cold. I like that one, -4, and I like Arkansas -11 against Oral Roberts. I think they win that one by 15. As far as the NIT, you got your picks, Donnie? What do you like?
I went over it. I'm going to take Colorado State with the points in that game. I don't love that, but again, if I have to make a pick in every one of them, I'm really you won't see me tweet out on Twitter either. I like to keep track of my NCAA tournament. So if I win the Colorado State game, it's not going to be out there because it's just I'm only keeping track of the NCAA ones. But actually, Jeff, I've been a big fan of Louisiana Tech lately, man. This team balls, and I'm going to take them at either the pick'em or the -1. I like Louisiana Tech. I do.
Yeah, I hate these teams. They're annoying. I don't know how Louisiana Tech score, but they do.
They do. I had them against Western Kentucky, and I saw the fun because, again, I'm an old man, so I went to sleep basically when the game started. But I woke up and was like, yeah, La Tech, way to get after it.
Also,
so ride that wave.
One annoying thing of the other night as well in that NIT was, how did Mississippi State not win by 10? Like, Richmond had no one playing.
Correct.
Mississippi State shot 75% in the first half and we're down 6. Think about that, Donnie. How's that happen?
I don't know.
Oh, I know why. Because they turn a ball over 20 times.
Yep.
Mississippi State is Ben Howland. It might be time to go. Okay. I mean,
back to UCLA, Jeff.
If you didn't win that game the other night, I think it might have been time to go. I mean, I don't know if an NIT title will win it and keep it the job for him, but I mean, just brutal. Is Richmond better without Golden and Francis? It's crazy.
That's funny, isn't it? Isn't that wild? Jeez.
Yeah, but all in all, guys, apologize for the tech issues. Hopefully tomorrow we won't have any issues. We'll be here bright and early, 9:00 a.m., covering the Sunday matchups. We hope you enjoy the games today. I look forward to Loyola. One other comment: Ken Wagenhofer says if Loyola wins, you can start hedging. I'm not hedging at all, unless it gets to the final game where I might take some back live or something. Hopefully if it's Gonzaga, they go down or I can get a plus number. But I'm not hedging. I'm just going to see how it goes. It's too cheap of a ticket to hedge. I couldn't get a ton of money on it. So
yeah, like Jeff's not going to worry about missing rent because of how much he paid for this ticket. So
see, I knew he didn't bet a lot on games. Now he'll blame that he couldn't get enough on it. Donnie knows though I could.
I I guess if we're pressed on it, because I always like to do this, Jeff. When people say don't, I say, hey, you know what? Put up $100 and I'll show you the exact conversation. But you send it to PayPal, somebody will hold it, and then just give me the $100 when I release the official Skype when it was going down, saying, "Do you believe X book won't only accept this amount?"
Yeah.
What? That's basically how the conversation.
Well, yeah, because that day I remember a listener or like a follower of mine reached out and he said, "Yo, so and so has this book bet.
Yeah,
you should try to get it. And I wasn't able to get it. And, we ended up finding it. But yeah, ultimately we'll see how it goes. I'm sticking with it though. I think the matchups to the Final Four.
Like it.
So we'll see how it goes. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button before you head on out of here. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll knock on wood that there's no tech issues tomorrow for me. Thanks for watching. Good stuff to Donnie for getting us through here. Donnie, thanks as always. I'm the big man. He's Donnie Rightside. We'll see you Sunday here on the Hoops Betting Hour presented by PicksWise and powered by FanDuel. Have a great night. See ya.